Welcome to Next Tech. Did you know that Instagram was not Instagram a few years ago? It was actually bourbon. Yes, you heard that right. Potentially the favorite social media app for millions of people today started out as a whiskey app. Why? Because Kevin Systrom, one of the founders, was a fan of Kentucky whiskeys. And so when he wanted to launch his self-created location-based iPhone app based on the idea of Foursquare, he just decided to name it after the booze bourbon. But the shocking thing is how Instagram went from being a simple booze app to the global equivalent of social media in the duration of a mere 2 years. In today's video, we are talking about how Instagram started and went from a whiskey app to photos in no time. Make sure you watch the video till the end to know what made people go gaga over Instagram against all the other apps that could come and go out of existence every other day. So when bourbon was released, it was complicated, but if you understood how to work with it, let you check in at particular locations, schedule your future check-ins, earn in-app points for just hanging out with your friends at certain places, and share pictures of your meetups on the internet. But the app didn't gain as much success as they had imagined. It was clearly too complicated to use, with too many features that people did not really understand and thus gave up on their efforts to try them out at all very easily. However, Kevin kept tweaking the app. He paid extra attention to how people were using it and even brought in another programmer, Mike Krieger, who then helped Kevin use analytics to determine how exactly users were going about their actions on the Bourbon app. They found out that people were not actually using the check-in feature, but the app's photo sharing feature was another story altogether. Users were posting and sharing photos like crazy, even as they were few in numbers at that point in time. So Systrom and Krieger then decided to focus their efforts on the photo sharing infrastructure and removed almost everything else that made the app hard to use. This was when they also started researching the market and studying all of the other popular photo sharing apps available. They found two main ones, Hipstamatic and Facebook, of course. The former was pretty cool and had great filters, but it was very hard to share photos and the process was long and time-taking. While on the other hand, the latter though was the king of social networking then, but its iPhone app did not really have a great photo sharing feature. This gave Mike and Kevin a ray of hope that they could very well make a gap in the market and slip in between Hipstamatic and Facebook. So they started working on developing an easy-to-use social media app that allowed simple and quick social photo sharing for its users. They scrapped everything else out of Bourbon except the photo, comment, and like features. One thing they added was about 30 cool filters too. But still, simplicity was the key, and so now users could post a photo on the app instantly in just 3 short clicks. After months of experimentation and prototyping, Kevin released the simple photo sharing app on October 12, 2010, which had been renamed from Bourbon to Instagram. A mix of Instant and Telegram, and this was the beginning of the revolution of the world of social media. But before we talk about what happened next, let us talk about what happened before all of this. Like any other success in the history of mankind, this too did not come at a small cost. Kevin did not just wake up one day and got the idea and built the app which made him a billionaire. No. He had years and years of constant work before that, even though it was not directly on building the app itself. Kevin Systrom was a freshly pedigreed member of Silicon Valley's Novo elite, who graduated from Stanford University, then spent his time interning at Twitter, and even worked at Google for a long time. But apart from that, Systrom spent a lot of his days toiling as a product manager for a travel recommendation startup called nextstop.com, which Facebook acquired in September of 2010. Apart from his jobs, Kevin also spent his nights as well as the weekends on many projects that helped him learn to code, while he had no formal computer science training before that. He said he was always interested in the idea of creating something by himself. This entrepreneurial bug most probably bit him while working at Odeo, the proto-Twitter. When he decided to make Bourbon, he did not really foresee the huge success. He said, "I figured I could build a prototype of the idea in HTML5 and get it to some friends. Those friends ended up using the prototype without any branding elements or design at all. But at the start, Kevin had everything: an idea, the will, the skill needed, and the time. But the only missing thing was money. Systrom was still working full-time at nextstop.com, so he would need an infusion of cash that would allow him to focus full-time on developing his product. But soon his luck kicked in. In his own words, "At that party there were two people from Baseline Ventures and Andreessen Horowitz. I showed them the prototype and we decided we'd meet up for coffee to talk about it. After the first meeting, I decided to take a dive and leave my job to go solo and see if bourbon could be a company. Within 2 weeks of leaving, I raised $500,000 from both Baseline and Andreessen Horowitz and started working on finding a team." This was the first step towards making history, and it showed in just a few hours of the launch too. Kevin wrote on Quora, "We figured we'd have at least 6 hours before anyone discovered the app so we could grab some shut-eye." But when they got up from their sleep, they noticed that downloads had begun pouring in from all corners of the globe, and the app crossed 10,000 users within just a few hours. Kevin and Mike were over the clouds. This was the best day of their lives. In fact, the app was growing at such incredible speed that the first thought they had was, "Are we counting wrong?" At the end of just the first week, Instagram had been downloaded 100,000 times, and in about 2 months, the user base stood at around 1 million users. It was mind-boggling for both the founders as well as the world witnessing this story. "We believe it's the beginning of something bigger," Systrom wrote in December of 2010, a few days before his 27th birthday. "It was both rewarding and humbling to see people embrace Instagram as both a new home on their iPhone and a new way of communicating visually with people around the world. We believe this is only the beginning. With 6.7 billion people in the world, we are a tiny fraction of the way there, but we're extremely happy with the progress." Soon, investors started to take interest in the company too, and in February 2011, a group of investors led a Series A financing a whopping $7 million. This was led by big names including Adam D'Angelo, Jack Dorsey, Chris Sacca, Baseline Ventures, and Benchmark Capital. The company at that time was valued at $20 million, which was huge considering the fact that the app had been launched just 5 months ago. A media article wrote about Instagram that Instagram represents a new kind of stylish startup on the web, one whose skyrocketing popularity, thanks to prominence of outlets like Apple's App Store, largely precedes its evolution into a traditional company with such accoutrements as financing, office space, or even a permanent web address. This was true, as even when Kevin got the funding and started to hire a team, he still kept it lean with less than 10 employees, even as the app approached its second million in the coming few weeks. What's remarkable about this app is the fact that it has changed very little since the time it was launched. Apart from a few new add-ons or new features that you have seen today, the focus still seems to be on the core purpose itself, sharing photos quickly. The users kept coming in, and in January 2012, about a year later, the company had 15 million registered users. In the next 2 months, this number jumped 27 million. Giving Instagram a valuation of a whopping $500 million in just a year and a half of launch. It was mind-boggling. "We've had an amazing time watching Instagram grow into a vibrant community of people from all around the globe," said Kevin Systrom. Soon, Facebook acquired Instagram for about $1 billion, drawing comparisons to Google's $1.65 billion purchase of YouTube in 2006. Many people have since then thought about what made Instagram go as viral as it did so quickly. Many believe that some of the reasons were that Instagram allowed ordinary photos to look extraordinary. People had the power to make their lives look like a dream. They could escape reality for a few seconds in those photos and see them through the rose-tinted filtered glasses. And isn't that what we are often looking for in life? A moment's distraction from reality. Today, Instagram has over 600 million active users, and when you ask the founder about how it feels about this incredible success and the one important tip he has for other entrepreneurs, he simply says, "It's about going through false starts. Bourbon was a false start. The best companies in the world have all had predecessors. YouTube was a dating site. You always have to evolve into something else. And so does your name. Did you know that we built another prototype between bourbon and Instagram? It was named Scotch." This brings us to the end of the video. What do you think? Isn't the story of success of your favorite app amazing? Tell us your thoughts on this in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video too. Share it with your friends. Also, press that bell icon to get notified every time we drop a new video. Until then, make sure to check out other videos on our channel. See ya!